as we go here. All right. So today, again, it's kind of a Huron Hospice Certify story, which Deb and I are facilitating, and we'll open to some conversations with Jill Wortley, who is our Certify lead at the end of the conversation. And as you know, coming up, we have our webinars. For those of you that might be new to us, we do host webinars once a month on the second Wednesday of every month, and they're from 3:30 to 4:30, and they're always free thanks to the donations from and the financial support from George Loonan Foundation. So the next one, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the next one closes our actual season 2023-2024. How did that happen? But Dan Cohen, who is an incredible human, especially in relation to research and programming connected to just aging and music and dementia. So he is going to be presenting conversations about AI and music care. So that's quite an interesting one. He came to us with this topic, and we thought, what a great way to close our season. So please join us for that and share the word. And then, of course, we do have some exciting news today. Next week, Tanya and I can't believe this, but next week we open registration for our Music Care Conference. How did that happen? Don't know. So if you want to join us with the Music Care Conference, it is in Waterloo this year. We have some incredible speakers coming, incredible presentations. Brian Harris, neuromusic therapist from MedRhythms, is coming. Emily Folks, the founder of the Singing for Health Network in the UK, is going to be coming and presenting. We also will have Jackie Richardson, who is an incredible, just one of the queens of gospel in Canada, is going to be, or of blues as well, is going to be our industry presentation at the end of the day. And we have quite a lot of workshops from, I guess, featuring the 10 domains and other connections to music care. So there's lots to investigate, including one of the experiential workshops will be Karen Burke, the leader of the Toronto Mass Choir, is going to be giving some very, very spirited power up kind of singing sessions. So I'm really excited personally about that. And of course, I would say the backbone of our programming and our curriculum is music care training. And so there's still time. We're just kind of early-ish into May. So if there's anyone or you know somebody that wants to begin a level 3, they can reach out to myself or Tanya. There's a level 1 coming up May 15 and 16, and there's a level 2 on June 6th and 7th. And of course, these are all virtual. And again, today is kind of a certified story. And what I did, I just had to show this, that the new, on our new page, this is a little bit of a snippet or a snapshot of our registry. And so on our website, you may not know this, but we actually feature individuals and organizations and soon to be schools that certify. And so you'll see here, we have 2 organizations, Alzheimer's Society of Peel, Huron Hospice, and one of our certify individuals in the corners. So we do have an online registry where you can kind of follow the certify stories or who's becoming certified in Canada. And what's really exciting is Huron Hospice, we can celebrate. You are, in fact, the first hospice in Canada to certify. But very soon, in fact, just, I think, right now, we have just certified St. John's Hospice in BC. So right now, that's pretty exciting. So this page will be expanding on our registry very soon. And so again, I'm going to have, normally I read the bio of whoever's presenting, but I'm going to actually have Deb introduce herself in just a couple of slides. Deb and I spent some time on how we wanted to deliver the webinar today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an overview of Certify for organizations in the first few slides. I know some of you know this, but again, it's really nice for a review because there's a lot to the Certify process. And so we thought it would be really helpful to unpack, again, some of those stages, what comprises Certify for organizations. Also because because of the hype of some of the organizations like Huron Hospice certifying, there've been a lot of people inquiring about the process. So I'm going to just go over kind of what happens in Certify for organizations. And for some of you that know about Certify, this may just enlighten you maybe to some of the process internally that individuals go through as they certify. So on that note, Certify really has become, I would say, the program that all of our other programs support. And so what I mean by that is our organization really has, since COVID, rebranded into 3 pillars. And that means that Music Care Certify or Music Care by Room 217 has a connect pillar, and that is basically our tools, our resources, and I'll get more, there's a slide on that in itself where you can see what's on the app, but Music Care Connect is an app. And when organizations or individuals decide to certify, one of the great benefits is that when you become certified, you get access to our resources and our tools. So that's really what we mean by connect. Learn is a platform of courses. I'll show you that in a moment in a little bit more detail. And so tooling up caregivers through educational experiences really is Learn. And Certify is really, we're looking at quality, improving quality of life for individuals through Certify, specifically in organizations. And it's a series of standards. And so synergistically, all of this, the tools from Connect, and the Learn platform, it really does serve Certify. And so I just, we've been developing this and we've been developing our language around it and our understanding it as we've been working through the process ourselves and through our program. And some of you on this call have really been with us right from beta, or some of you, have been working with us or part of our beta and then have been early adopters in Certify. And I just want to take a moment as an organization and thank all of those that have been with us in the early stages of the beta, the pilot, the early adopters of developing this program. And so it's exciting for us. So let's just look at the second pillar, which is called Learn. And my role is that I oversee programs, partnerships, and that includes Certify. So our Learn platform are these 8 programs. And if you're certifying, you do get access to these 8 areas. Some of them you get full access, other at 50% cost. So that is one of the benefits of becoming certified as an organization. But what we offer is our conference, again, Saturday, November 23rd in Waterloo. And every conference now includes Certify Stories. So last year at our conference, we featured Ruth Watkis and the first Alzheimer's Society of Peel. And there are more Certify stories to come. And I know poor Deb, I'll be asking her to join us for conversations in many areas. So more of that to come. But our conference really is our core program in a lot of ways. We offer quarterly masterclasses, and this is giving back to caregivers. Our master classes are not recorded like our webinars. This is a webinar. As you can see, it's recorded. Our master classes are not recorded so that 4 times a year we can exist together in a space that's, where we can participate. It's more practical. It may be where we give back to caregivers, like through a music therapist and a visual artist, or looking at sound therapy, or tooling up a technique in terms of your own musical training. So master classes are a little bit more intimate and not recorded. We have a resource section of our website, which is really amazing. If you have not perused through it, please do. And also please let educators know we have a great resource as well on our website. We do offer skills days, which are practical days where we come in and work with homogeneous groups in practical training. That's not really part of Certify, but you could argue that the Ready training, which I will speak about, in itself is a little bit of a skills day, but that's it is different, but similar to a skills day. We have our training, which I'll speak a bit more about later. We do deliver speaking engagements, and our virtual learning studio really does support Certify now. And that is that caregivers who are involved in Certify, anybody from the organization on the site team, can actually access any of our online courses to help develop skill sets to help their own learning so that they can deliver more music care programs in their own scope of practice. And you know about webinars because you're here. So outside of Learn and our education and training, we do offer resources for caregivers to use. So our music collections we have 24 albums for palliative and end of life. And I want to just take a moment here for those that have heard us talk about this, but may not be connecting. All of the music that you hear on those collections are actually recorded at 60 beats per minute. And that is what makes it different from something like Spotify. So all of the music on our app is recorded at 60 beats per minute to help with things like in training mood, for resting heart rate, promoting focus. If there's instrumental tracks, if you're looking for cognitive focus, for pain distraction. So that is how our music collections are different. We have a series of conversation cards, which can be found. We have hard copies, but also on our app. Videos, it's our music put to beautiful pictures, and that's for reminiscence. And we have a pathway singing program. But really the point of this is to recognize that these resources help support people like Deb and her team in certifying. And so this is just a little photo of what our app looks like. And when you're, the hope is that caregivers would use our app and create programs. We don't really call them playlists, we call them programs because there's more than music, of course, like a conversation card on our app. And so I think before we launch into Certify, the framework of it, I just wanted to recognize that part of the work we do, and also very much thanks to our board, we do have a research. We have a research partnership with McMaster and a research lead. So the work that we do is evidence-based, and it is vetted through, we're involved in a music wellness Delphi, which is a conversation for another day. But just to say that the programs that we develop, the curriculum we create, is done with the help and support of research from McMaster and Chelsea's team there. And so Certify, now that you understand Certify is sort of our signature main program, and Learn supports that, and Connect the app supports people that are in Certify, let's talk about 3 ways that you can certify. You can certify as an individual, and Deb Shelley is an excellent example. She's certified as an individual before she started Certify for Orgs. So Deb is actually certified. You can find Deb on our registry, both as a certified individual, but you can also see the organization she works for, Huron Hospice, now certified as an org. And so it's a continuing education program for integrating music. And basically, to become certified as an individual, you complete all 3 levels of our training and go through a series of assessments. And then there's some other steps, but that's the certification for individuals. And it's a differentiator. It differentiates your resume from others if you're certified in music care. And today we're going to be talking about Certify for organizations. So if you certify as an individual, you become an advocate, a music care advocate. The amazing thing about Certify Orgs, and I just want to again outline that Deb Shelley and her team, she's the site team lead, but not only did they certify as an organization, they certified at the gold level. So right now that's our highest standard, or our highest recognition tier. And then we also have been piloting Certify for schools. So Certify Org is a quality improvement program based on a PDSA model, where Certify for Schools is really a quality improvement program to enhance wellness. And so some of our research, which we'll feature another day, the Delphi study in music wellness, really is more about serving the Music Care Certify for School program. So this is Certify Org. Now I'm going to introduce Deb in just a moment, but I just want to break down org specifically. So as I said, the quality improvement cycle, the Plan, Do, Study, Act model is how Certify was developed. And in Certify, there are 5 quality drivers. And the site team leads work through, with their site team, they work through these 5 quality drivers to achieve success criteria, or otherwise known as points. And so to certify as a bronze, you have so many points across 5 drivers, and to certify at silver, you have 15 more points across those drivers, and to certify at gold level, you have 30 points above the bronze area. So I just, again, it's leadership, music-rich environments, professional practitioners, continuing ed, and an MCARP, otherwise known as a Music Care Action Research Project. So as we come to the point of introducing Deb, what I want to just take note is understanding that what her and her team did is, following our requirements for certified, they worked through a series of success criterias under each of those drivers to become certified. And our Certified for Org has 7 stages. And so now when I introduce Deb, we're going to go stage by stage through the 7 stages of Certify. And we're going to talk about thoughts, insights from her team as we go through each of the different phases. So just to give you an idea, it takes about, I'll say ish, 1 year to become certified from here, the discover phase in the goldish color, all the way through to certify. And so if you notice, I wanted to add this here because now that Deb and her team have certified, they enter the grow phase. And that is that the second year, the work is still happening because, of course, we really care about the sustainability of music and care, and the work of the team continuing, and Deb is going to speak to that. And so I just, again, if you look at the chart now, you understand the 7 stages. But if you look at the chart, discover and engage are really a little bit about, for example, my role and Tanya's role, getting the site team lead on the portal and just the requirements and the next steps. But when you're in Discover and Engage, you have to have a leader that you're working with. And this is a partnership. So we have a music care facilitator on our team who will be paired with the site team lead. And so for Huron Hospice, Bev Foster was the music care facilitator paired with Deb, and then Jill came in because the exciting thing to mention is that Certify has grown, and now we actually have a designated Certify lead, which is Jill Wortley. Jill, do you want to kind of wave to us for a moment? And I'm going to invite her in the conversation at the end. So I thought it was relevant to take a few moments and now introduce Deb so that folks understand the different stages of the process for this particular webinar. And so if you notice, we're now going to talk about, enter into the 3rd step, which is the plan phase. And so there's 3 leadership roles, which I've mentioned. There's the site team leader, of which was Deb from Huron Hospice, and there's a music care facilitator. And I did manage to find a picture recently of both Jill and Bev in a celebration for Alzheimer's Peel. We may have a picture coming up. Deb's team is having a celebration this weekend, but also this is the Huron team in action. So Deb, on that note, I'll turn it over to you and I'll stop sharing so that we can focus just on you for a moment. Can you tell us a little bit about your background personally in music and in palliative care, and how you came to certifying as an org at Huron Hospice?
Hi, everybody. So my background is in motherhood and in community music, involved with choirs over the years. And then in more recent years, I developed an interest in thanatology, and so got some training at King's University College at Western. And then that just kind of all melded together. And then I was hired on as the volunteer coordinator at Huron Hospice. But my passion tends to meld those things together. I'm passionate about music in care, music with intentionality, and I'm passionate about end-of-life issues and grief and bereavement also.
Wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit about the singing program, the bedside singing program? at this point. Can I put you on the spot? Sorry.
Uh, so let's see, it was while I was at King's, attending King's, I learned about the concept of bedside singing, and we put the word out in our community. And we have now a team of about 14 of us. And our mandate is to offer a blanket of musical comfort at the bedside. We've also sung at gravesides, in funeral services, hospitals. Yeah, that's what we do.
Amazing. And so you had mentioned that there was a vision at Huron Hospice when you were beginning the process.
Um, so we initially thought that our vision was to seek buy-in from the nurses, to do what we could to help them understand that music was more than something to sprinkle on top, that music was an integral part of care. And so that sort of was the basis for, well, how can we get buy-in from the nurses? Joe makes some or later, talk later on.
Yeah, maybe we'll park that. So if we, and the great thing about this, and this happened naturally, is when Deb and I were planning for today, we realized that it's National Nursing Week, which is very appropriate because as you'll see as we go through, their MCARP is actually connected to the nursing staff at the hospice. So that's great. And just before we move on to the next part, when did Huron actually start this process? Do you remember the
When
month?
did we start the certified process?
Yes.
It would be about a year ago, I think about May or June. I would think close to about a year.
Great. And I say that because we offer from our business perspective at Room 217, we like to cohort certify. So we intake folks in January, April, and September, and then it kind of takes a year to work through the process. So schools only have one cohort option. Schools always start in September, and the school program is only 1 year. Anyway, I'll talk about that more later, but just that it does take about a year to work through all the requirements. And we're going to work through driver 5. I'm going to share my screen in just a moment, but a big portion, there's an entire driver committed to something called a Music Care Action Research Project. And that's where the team decides together of a gap or something that they want to do together, where they're going to measure they're going to decide to use music in a specific way and then measure the effectiveness of it. And so that's why there's a pilot, and then they, gather some learning and then make adjustments and then implement it. And so that's why it's called an action research project. I'll just go back to sharing just to give some visual to the conversation that we are launching into. Everybody can see okay? Great. So the previous slide that I showed was, again, I want to just mention that, again, Deb is the site team, but there is a site team lead, but there is a site team at every organization that certifies. And the site team consists of 8 to 12 stakeholders across the organization. So what we look for here is that really anybody that is employed with or in that organization can be a member of the site team. And so this is the exciting part where you can really get cross-representation from different folks. And so in the plan phase, so after we have some orientations to the program, getting people on a portal so that they can upload evidence of reaching that success criteria, what happens is the team, our program Certify is front loaded with our training, and our music care training is really integral to the success of Certify, because the training has to happen to be able to implement strategies. And so if you haven't been or haven't received the training, then it's really hard to implement and work through those ideas. So if you look at the top here, if a site team is between 8 and 12 individuals, pretty much everyone on the site team attends our level 1. And then from there, usually up to about 5 people move on, and then of course to level 2, and then of course the site team lead, and oftentimes if they have a lead assistant, they'll move on to complete level 3. And for folks on the call, so there's a lot of training at our program. When we go back to that 7-step in the plan cycle, in the first while, there's a lot of training and tooling of caregivers. Our level 1 is a 2-day training, and it can be virtual or in person. And there's 10 strategies that caregivers learn that they can use right away, like humming and the use of breath, or sharing a meaningful song. In the second level, what we do is we look at the whole person, and that's really the five human domains. And we have 10 effects across those 5 domains that we look at in more detail. And so, for example, biologically, looking at using music as a way to lower heart rate, or reduce or slow down breathing, that sort of thing, for relaxation. And so level 3 is really about, it's a 6-week mentorship with one of our instructors, where they meet once a week, and they learn about and work through 10 tools that help support their music care initiative. And so an initiative is a project or an idea that people start in level 1, think about and start to work through in level 2, but then really develop in level 3. So the tools in level 3 help support the leadership abilities of the person that is seeking to become music care trained at a level 3. And at that point, certainly after they've completed level 3 and then let's say they become certified themselves, we consider them as an advocate of music care on our team. So so Deb Shelley having her music care individual certification, that means also, in addition to being part of the site team and the site team lead as a certified org, we also consider Deb to be an advocate of music care. And I hope that makes sense. Are there any burning questions before we move on? Great. So Deb, you had some insights about the music care training and this part of the Engage process. I was just wondering if you could talk to us about what you experienced as the staff members that you were working with went through training.
We set up our training, so it was virtual, and we set it up in the meeting room at our residence so that all our participants could share the time together. So it ended up being, it helped build a sense of community, of shared vision, and then just sharing the fun of doing that training together.
Amazing. And I'm going to move forward then in the plan section. Again, we're still in that larger blue part of our 7-step process. In the plan, right on the heels of your music care training, is really, especially level 1 and 2, is our ready training. And what happens on that day? It's really a 6-hour training where it's in person, where the music care facilitator will now come to the on-site location, so in this case, Huron Hospice, and actually work through all of the requirements that are required in our program. So they talk through all of the desirables, all of the essentials, all of those requirements that make up Certify. And they start to brainstorm together what they think is achievable. It's about having the music care facilitator delegate or work with the site team lead to help delegate the work really across the team, look at the strengths of what you already do. So do you want to walk us through your ready training?
I'll just say that in the bottom right picture there, the gentleman in the light colored shirt is our executive director. And he made a point of coming and attending as much as he could that day, and really sensed the enthusiasm of the group as the day went on. I think when he came back late in the afternoon, he expected to see everybody worn out, and they were not. So it was, again, an excellent day. It was facilitated by Bev, and the conversations centered at that point around, well, what do we want to see happen, and how can we engage with the nurses and make it meaningful with them as well.
Amazing. So now we're going to lean forward a little bit into the MCARP. And so you'll see brainstorming happening, that's sort of the sheets that you saw. Oh, I'm missing, there it is. Okay. So what I've done is do you want to talk us through? So Deb, we are going to watch. Deb has and her team prepared a video that Tanya's going to share in just a moment. And what you're going to be, it's a video with music and there's words that kind of go through the MCARP, and we're going to end the about 6-minute video with the results. But can you walk us through specifically what was your MCARP?
So initially, we thought that one way to gain support from the nurses was to help them witness firsthand music's power in our residents' lives. And so we thought if we created a project where we were observing and documenting responses of residents to music care moments and asked the nurses to do that also, that we would all come to see how valuable music was in care. So we created these cards, one for musicians and one for the nurses, and each musician that participated had an opportunity to just circle what they observed when they were in the room. The rooms are named by tree names, that's what those are. And then the nurses, we always have 2 nurses on duty, so they were all on duty. Nurses were invited to also observe the residents after music care moments.
Thank you for that. And I just want to just take a moment. I don't want to walk too far because I want to give time after we show the 4 or 5 minutes of your MCARP from your video. But what was one result that might have floored you a little bit or shocked you? What was one outcome you weren't expecting?
There's so many. The amazing learning happened sort of on the side. Like we were doing this project, and then the amazing things were like musicians developed their observational skills. They became more engaged with the residents as a part of this. I can't think of what else right now, but it was one of those. We didn't go into it looking for that. It was a wonderful aside. And then, so I mean, the big one we'll probably talk about more later was realizing that we're not here to seek buy-in from the nurses. We're here to support the nurses, and we can do that with music.
Yeah, that's a wonderful reflection. And just in case we forget, I think it would be great. You shared with me that you didn't realize that the nurses were singing, right? Do you want to just talk a little bit about that part of
Yeah,
the
so
story?
one of the quality drivers was I had to interview one of our nurses, and I did that. And during the conversation, I asked her, well, is there anything else that we should know? And she paused and then said, we nurses sometimes break into song. And I had no idea. I had no idea because we're not there most of the time, right? We come in and do our thing and then we leave. The nurses are there 24/7. And so then I said, well, can you give me an example? And she goes, oh, Mamma Mia, you know. So the nurses understand the value of music, right? I think we were coming in from this at a very arrogant level, thinking they don't know and we have to teach them. And now we go, how can we support them? We're giving them their own music moments when we're in.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for that learning. And maybe just in an effort of time while we're talking about the impact, what was one impact on the musicians?
I should ask Sherry. She's here with my name on her screen for some reason. Again, I think powers of observation. I think the sense of community. And realizing the intentionality of the music we're doing, and all the musicians who engaged in the process now are committed to coming more than once a month to offer music.
Wonderful. Thanks for that. What we're going to do now is Tanya's going to share. It is about 6 minutes, just to let everybody know. I felt what would be really helpful is if we actually looked at your presentation of the MCARP section of your video. So what Deb and her team have done is created a video that walks through the MCARP and the results. And so Tanya, I'll tell you when to stop. We're doing a little bit of my internet is weak right now, as you know, because of the weather. So Tanya is going to share the video and I'll let you know when to stop it. And we should mention quickly as she's starting it, who's performing, Deb? Do you want to just tell me?
That's Jack, and he's performing original songs through all these. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Let's watch the MCARP. If you want to pause it here, Tanya. I thought, Deb, oh, do you still have it there? Do you mind sharing it, but just don't play it, just to pause it there? So I like that this was a comprehensive walkthrough, of how you came to your MCARP, what was done in the MCARP. And I thought this is kind of a great place to stop, Deb. I mean, some of these positive outcomes are really, really quite profound. So can you just walk us through, so the nurses, so you would have your music happening, and then the nurses, can you just explain a little bit about how they would, when they would go in and marking on the cards and some of these outcomes with us?
Yeah, so we would not be there typically to watch them afterwards, going in and doing that. We would remind them that the cards were there, and they would be aware of the residents' quality of life before the music moment. So then after we were done, they would go in and make note of whatever they noticed. I thought it was interesting. I'm 100% happier. You can't get much better than that, right? And then, but in 0% in less pain, which I think is attributed to the fact that most people are pretty well medicated for pain in hospice. So,
Yeah. I also like that 83% would like more.
mhm.
Yeah. These are really great. I mean, were there any surprises to your team? Were there anything that stood out to the site team, yourself or members of your site team?
Maybe not surprises. I mean, the frustrating things of we wanted to do all these things, right? And then someone would say, no, I don't want music. And you're going, yes, but we want data.
Yeah.
But it's about person-centered care, right? So respecting that. We actually had a resident last week when Solace was there. We sang quietly coming to his room, didn't enter his room. And then his son-in-law poked his head out the door and said, he said to turn it off. So that was a first. But we respect that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you. And now what I'll do, thanks, Tanya. I just wanted to pause on the numbers so that we could talk about the numbers for a moment. But now I'm going to share my screen as well. Now we basically, that was the MCARP, which is driver 5. I'm going to go back to a visual from my own PowerPoint, and really you're now in the grow phase. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, that we wanted to explore with you, is so what's happening now? You had mentioned about, I think it's from To Infinity and Beyond is one of the titles, or one of the things that you had mentioned. So maybe share that with us, and I'll go back to my slideshow.
Yeah, I mean, again, just opening our eyes to all the potential of music in the care that we provide. We have 140 plus or minus volunteers. Most of them engage one-on-one in the community with clients. 2 of those now use music when they're with their clients, one in a long-term care facility and the other when he's out for a walk with his client. We've introduced music moments into our grief support groups, encouraging members to maybe share a song that's significant to them, and then we'd type up the lyrics for the next meeting, and they would share the story, and we'd sing the song. We'd have Jack come and play, and we'd sing. So there's just so much potential. I keep coming back to the idea of a good grief choir that we could maybe explore in the future too. So yeah, the sky's the limit.
Fantastic. And one other, I didn't want to not catch on this one story. Deb and I met, and we kind of picked some stories and some things that we would like to make sure that were expressed, as through this webinar, and that was to be able to have a greater understanding of the process in more detail. And part of that is certify stories. And so you had mentioned about a story of Jack and a nurse and a wedding song. Do you want to share that with us?
So as part of our process, we learned, let's start supporting our nurses. So after we are there singing anytime now, we make a point of going to where they are at their table and singing something for them. You Are My Sunshine, or if it's somebody's birthday, we'll sing that. We've done Skinamarink. One day Jack was there on his own, and he went out to the nurses' table and asked the gal if she would like any music. And she said, well, whatever you want to play is fine. And that morning he'd been thinking of a song, and I can't remember which one it is now, but he started to play it. And she interrupted him and said, I had that song at my wedding. So that was just one of those we see those kind of, we call them magic, the magic moments with music, where you make that connection with someone, sometimes not even intentionally doing that, right? And there's that moment of connection, and then she's experiencing music in care.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. And so, and thank you for walking us through the process. And what is next as you're now? I'm going to go back to just so that we have a visual of kind of the process again for everyone today. As you engage, so just a little reminder, we're back here to the 7 stages of Certify, and now you're in the grow phase. So Deb, what's next for Huron Hospice? What do you see happening in the grow phase, the 2nd year of the program?
We're hoping to develop a bigger team of musicians who are engaged, looking to explore how our musicians again can engage in the community as well in the community. I may be taking on a role as the music care specialist with hospice in the fall, so we can focus more on that, building our grow phase.
And how is, now that you're in here and now that you're certifying, and again, we're thrilled to be celebrating with you on Saturday formally, but how can I say this, now that you're certifying and you're doing this and your next steps are in place, do you see, and you talked a little bit about a community from
That's my big vision.
Yeah, do you want to just talk about that? Because this is kind of the dream phase. I think it's okay to dream during grow, whether or not it happens, I think it's a bit of a dream. So before I go into individuals and schools, I just wondered if you could share how you felt this could be bigger.
Well, I'll blame Bev for this, because throughout the process, Bev would say things like, this is so replicable and this is so scalable. And so what I'd love to explore is creating a network of musicians throughout Goddard. So we're a music care rich, vibrant community, and intentionally bringing music into care in the hospitals, the medical centers, community living, one care, schools, long-term care facilities. A lot of our musicians have been playing in particularly in long-term care facilities for years, but just helping them get a better, clearer vision of how to intentionally do that to support people in care. Yeah, lots to explore.
Thanks for that. And I think just your own journey is very indicative of scaling Music Care Certify, because you did start your own journey as an individual certified. And now, you're working as a site team lead in an organization that is certified. And I'm just going to, again, walk through. Sorry, here's the slide. So the benefits, what's really quite interesting to us, I think, at Room 217 is a year ago, we had the early adopters and we had our first cohort. And so we're starting to see kind of case studies, information, results of certifying individuals and now certifying organizations. And again, for those interested, maybe Tanya can pop her email address in the chat box, but we do have a case study about Alzheimer's Society of Peel as well. And I just wanted to park a moment on the outcomes of Certify, because you saw such positive results really in your MCARP as well, and in the work with Certify.org, but as did Alzheimer's Society of Peel. And they found in general that by looking at their sound environment, they found that agitated behaviors were reduced by 75% after going through the Certify for Org process. And in doing so, reduced, so the behaviors were reduced by 75% and, engagement was increased by 75%, my apologies. And that meant the behaviors were reduced by 40%. And because of that, staff stress was reduced by 50%. So I'm sharing this screen now because for us here at Room 217, we know the benefits, and if you look at the care outcomes, I think through your MCARP, we've really seen person-centered care, the music care stories, we've been able to tap into that, improving the experience of care recipients, but also of nurses and of musicians. You mentioned that an outcome of Certify was that there was more engagement in musicians, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and so I think this is just a nice way to sort of finish. This is the certified benefits for organizations. But just before we leave today, just to mention that we do certify individuals. It's a little bit different. It's over 6 quality drivers. And so again, you can reach out to our website to find out more information, but also that we're certifying schools. And Deb and I talked, and she was excited about this too, because some of the grow phase for Deb and her team at Huron Hospice is also engaging to and thinking about next steps that might connect intergenerationally with students and schools and stuff. So I just wanted to end really on 2 points. One is just the difference between organizations and schools. They're very similar. They follow a similar pattern. Driver 3 is a little different, where the schools are looking at music wellness and community partnerships. And instead of a formal action research project, the schools are investing in music care initiatives. One that I can share with you today, which is quite exciting, is in a high school. This makes me laugh, but using cue songs to get students to class on time. Because the board or the school had made the decision not to use bells, and so they were trying to work around a pilot program, and they thought that was not using bells, and they thought that they could use music to bring some structure back into the high school. So I'm just moving through. I think yes. And one point, because I wanted to make sure, Deb, actually, that we had time to end with your video. The ending of the video we'll watch today is just the music happening through videos and pictures at the hospice. So I'll get Tanya, she's in a moment, to share that ending so that we can end this today. But I think this was really profound, just as we're rounding out our conversation about Certify for Schools, that this was just released, that mandatory learning on mental health literacy for grade 10 students will start in the fall of 2024 and will include how to recognize signs of being overwhelmed or struggling, as well as where to find help locally when needed. And it will be put into the grade 10 career studies course, but also just the Ontario government is also announcing an increase in mental health funding in schools to a historic $114 million in 2023-24, representing an over 500% increase since 2018 because of the impact of the pandemic and other things. So I just kind of wanted to end with that although today was really about Certify for Org and the Huron Hospice story, that we do have individuals certification and school certifications as well. So Deb, as Tanya is preparing the video to outro this webinar, do you want to tell us what we're going to be seeing?
I should have looked at it again first. I think what we're seeing at the end. So various musicians in various settings at the residence, offering their music with some summary remarks, I think, too.
Great, wonderful. And Tanya's going to share that for us. Thank you.
Soft and cool, I take your hand in mine. All is hushed, silence. Work is done. Your stories all are told. Suddenly we face goodbye. Tenderly, with tears upon our face, our eyes speak their last goodbyes. Ever will I hold you in my heart. Smiles of joy entwined with sighs. We have shared the gifts of love and life, and now we share their final pain. soft and cool. Your hand rests in my own. Tenderly, we say goodbye.
Thank you for that. What a great way to close out our webinar today. And I just want to ask if there's any questions. We do have two of our facilitators on here. Of course, our executive director, Bev Foster, who was the music care facilitator with Deb Shelley, and Jill Wortley, the certified lead. But just wonder if there's any comments or questions for Deb and the Huron Hospice team. Great. Well, I hope that today's webinar provided a wholesome approach of not only the process from the Room 217 side, but also some thoughts and input as well from Deb and her team, who have just recently certified at Gold. And we're all with you, celebrating with you on Saturday. And again, if you have any questions about Certify, please reach out to us. Tanya's email address is in the chat. Have an excellent rest of your Wednesday.